So some context, this is the second time I'm doing this video because some additional information has come into play here. And quite honestly, there are some things I wanted to talk about. Excuse me one second. Sorry, just it was a little tiny loud. Anyways, better. Alright, so anyways, as I was talking about, I've seen a few certain types of things in mind, and I told you guys that if I had any more information that I would make a video talking about such a thing. And boy, do I have the information for you. Now, some of it is good news, and some bad news in some aspects. But I will explain myself in a moment exactly what that might be entailing. But before we do, I do want to go ahead and just say that I will also be speculating on certain things. Now, what I say here, as far as what I think might be happening, should be taken with a grain of salt. I might be saying stuff that I think might happen, but that doesn't mean that it's going to happen. So don't be going into this thinking that I know what exactly is going on, and therefore you get disappointed when it turns out that that's not the case. And I'm just emphasizing this because I know in the past I've done this before, where I was like, oh, I know what it is, and it's proven that I was right. But that was because I was told ahead of time from the company what book they were actually doing. And some, like, what they were doing as far as content ideas and whatnot goes. Now, unfortunately, this time around, I do not know what's going on. Well, I know some stuff, but I don't know the theme of the book or any of that type of sorts of nature. So, allow me to go ahead and talk about this. So, context. So, this news happened on Friday the 10th. And this was in correlation to something that was posted the day before, which was on the 9th. On the forums. Now, as far as a group, sorry. And the context of this was somebody made a comment simply saying, so is the game dead? Or like, what the hell's going on, right? Like, basically they weren't being patient. I was okay just waiting, right? But unfortunately, some, not so much. But that's okay, right? I mean, a good thing they did update this, because then it's like, okay, so now we know, right? Because last I've told you was what he said, but it seems like, yeah, you'll understand in a moment. So I'm going to be reading to you exactly what the lead game designer at Pixowl said, which I've mentioned before was named Nacho. Now, I'm going to give a shout outs to him. First of all, thank you for being open to the community, so letting us know exactly what's going on, because, quite honestly, without no limitations, everything like that, it's kind of hard to see what's going on. Especially since they're not updating their socials anymore. I'm guessing because of financial reasons and the fact they have a small team, so they're trying to mitigate, okay, what can we do as far as pricing stuff goes, right? And even he himself is like, because of the amounts of stuff they got going, they can only do an update every so often, right? Which, you know, it's better than having no update, right? Because the game's, you know, dead or something. And it is unfortunate because of the fact that the game, as far as stuff goes, is, you know, the problem with the game is because of the 2021 hiatus, as you all know, that a lot of the people who played the game left. So only a few diehard fans and newer people coming into the game are left. Now, because of this, a lot of it is just basically trying to figure out the, you know, cater to these people, and that, you know, they bring a decent chunk of change, but it's not like the whole shebang. Like I mentioned in jokes before, that this feels like this is the black sheep of the Pixowl family, but it's kind of like if Supercell and Pixowl were the same thing, Goosebumps HorrorTown is like Boom Beach. You know, it's the lesser of the popular ones. I mean, they're getting updates now, surprisingly, but it's not as big as their other games. So this seems like this is the kind of case, but they're trying their best with what they can and have going for themselves. So Alright, so with that in mind, I'm going to be talking about exactly what I've learned from him. That he posted something yesterday on the 10th of May. That is a bit of an update of exactly what's going on here. And I'm going to be going up through this, and this is where good and bad news comes in. So, this is what he says, and I quote, "Don't you worry, yes, we are working hard in the next 2 updates. We have set the schedule for them as follows." And here it is. July, Part 1 of the event. August, Part 2 of the event. October, new Halloween event. It will take a little longer, but you will be getting a new content. We are working hard for it to be fun and in sync with the stories we like of Goosebumps. Thank you again for your support. Now, if you've read or listened carefully, you probably have heard the bad news. So, I mentioned before that he said maybe near May, the end of May, we should expect it. Turns out it's a little longer now. Now it's near the end of June, beginning of July. So yes, another month of waiting for nothing. So my little prediction of having 6 updates at least this year, it seems like they basically said to April, they're like, goodbye April, doesn't exist no more, goodbye, so we don't have an April, so now we have at least, we have confirmed at least 4, right, for now this year. And I'm hoping number 5 for December, but I'm curious if that's because they're waiting for this new... Because here's the thing, this is the lead director, so there is no content director for this game at the moment. So I'm hoping that they might bring somebody in to be that, and then they will be the one who does the Christmas, like what happened before, which seems like that could be the case. But at any rate, yes. Part 1 most likely will start by no later than July. I'm thinking early July. Because what's going to happen is as soon as this update ends, the next update's going to hit right after, which is supposed to be when we're supposed to expect it in August. So normally I said it was supposed to be in June, but they pushed it a little bit July, but August seems to be on track. So seem like I'm kind of right on that mark as far as that stuff goes. Now, the thing that you might have noticed, and I figured was going to be the case, and they've confirmed it, is that yes, there is a Halloween update coming for this year. So the Halloween tradition still stays strong, which is great. If anything else, Halloween is the thing that you need to not mistake. So Event 31, 2, and 3 have been confirmed for now for the scheduling for this year. So that's good. Now then, as far as Halloween stuff, I have no idea what's going on there, and he didn't say anything about December, but like I've said, I'm hoping when we get closer to it, that they can confirm that yes, there is a Christmas update coming, and hopefully it is a Christmas event or a story update and not the crap that we got for the last 2 years. I'm just saying, that was kind of garbage. The story was okay, but you know what I meant. Like, if you've seen the thing, you know. But at any rate, yeah, that seems to be the update for now. So we now know that July is going to be Part 1, followed by August in Part 2, and then October will have the new Halloween event. So as far as that goes, it's going to be deciding on whether or not things are going to happen. Now then, with that being said, you might be curious to know some things. At which case is, what exactly is going on here? Because this is a long time for an update. And yeah, we have 2. This is basically a bigger update that has 2, so it kind of makes sense for the time being. But is there something else going on? My guess is yes, because it seems like they're delaying it for a certain reason, and that reason seems to be for the fact that they want to add something to the game. Now, like what happened last year, it turned out there was going to be the Battle Pass thing, so it might be another feature that was from the other games brought into this game here. And I'll pay attention to the other games. If something new comes in as far as event stuff goes, then that might give us an idea of what exactly they may add into this game. But again, there's no guarantees of what's exactly going on, but they might just keep it to the Quick Quote Pro, you know, standard, right, and fit to the story and everything like that. So with that in mind, I think it's fine time to have some fun and guess what might be this update. Now, for what we know is that this update is going to be a two-parter. It's going to justify having 2 parts put into there and have enough information to kind of go about. Now, I did make a comment after this saying, well, first of all, thank you for letting us know. But then second of all, I was curious on why taking so long for such an update, like what makes it so special or beefy. And he also confirmed to contact him by the end of June. So that gives you a timeline of exactly where they're looking at right now. So it seems like they're pushing it to another month at least to make sure that this is all good and golden. And again, you have to understand because small team, so there's only limited resources they can do. And as you know, adding new things to things can cause problems. So I get it. So with that in mind, time for the fun, right? I'm not going to guess what Halloween is because God knows what Halloween can be. It could be anything. But for this big update, I had to think about certain things. And part of them is, it might be, if they're doing like special books and stuff like that, then it would have to justify having 2 books at least, right? Unless you do a part 1, I mean, maybe, I don't know. But it has to be big enough to justify having 2 updates. So that means 2 scenes at least and 2 characters that's popular, right? And then you would also have to look at if there's anything as far as stuff goes that would make sense to have in Horrorland to be a big update, because he's emphasized he wants this to be a big update in sorts. So I ended up looking back into certain things, and I do recall there was this magnum opus he wanted to do for her Oasis before he left, but he didn't, unfortunately was able to do that, and it was more of a noir event, so it's like black and white kind of thing, so it kind of seems cool, right? So maybe his kind of, I'm just guessing here out the spot, it's possible that his little this update, he wants it to be big. It might be his magnum opus that he wanted to do but couldn't, but he's doing it now because of the opportunity. That's my guess anyways, but I don't know. Again, this is all guess and spun and speculation. So again, take these with a grain of salt. All right. All you need to know right now is July, August, and October confirmed to be when updates are supposed to hit. All right. Cool. Now then, as far as that's concerned, now you might be asking, in what aspect, what book is going to be this big update, or what books, I should say, right? Because it could be either 1 book or 2 books, and when I asked the question regarding to what the justification is for doing this, he told me that he wanted to develop and emphasize these 2 characters he's introducing into the game, right? And he puts that in for this, is saying that this story is going to be heavily driven because of these 2 characters, right? So then that got me thinking, and I'm like, well, what 2 characters, like, well, it has to be 2 characters that are important in some way, or something that's known at least, or something like that. And we've had a lot of different characters put in here. So that kind of limits some of the books like old. So we're looking at maybe post in 2008. So like when they relaunched the thing back in Horrorland and upwards, right? Because those books are easy to get. So, all right. Are there any 2-parters of sorts that kind of came like this? There is one I can think of on the top of my head. And thinking about this seems to be making the most sense out of anything so far. Now, I've made speculations with Playboy Vampire before on our podcast for episode 4, which is going to be way through Halloween or something along those lines. And during that time, by the time this video comes out, it will be probably going to be next week in the middle of, anyways, I digress. Regardless of that, I'll stay to track. We made some ideas and suggestions of what we think might be going on. And Vampire suggested that he thinks it's going to be something to do with comic book related, right? And thinking on this, I've started to gain the idea that I think this is where they're going with this. Because there's one particular book that is not only been mentioned before, that one of these characters in this book was mentioned before in-game, once for sure, but it might have been twice under no. I'm not 100% sure on that. But for sure once. So they exist. And it would make sense as far as the whole, splitting into two parts. I'm of course talking about Dr. Maniac. I believe the next updates coming up is going to be Dr. Maniac and Robert and confusing their last name. I think these two characters are going to be what's coming up in this next update. And it makes sense for a few reasons. Now, let me tell you why. I can totally see this event being part one, being like, oh, the kids do something. Oh, no, the maniac is out and about. So we're going to try to stop the maniac. Oh, we think we stopped the maniac. Oh, no, they fall into his trap, and now it made the situation worse and ended on the R.L. Stine-style cliffhanger, which then goes to part two, which is like, well, now we're in this crap. The situation's even worse now. So what can we do? Well, we could go to the creator of the character. He probably knows what's going on. So that sets up to like one character and another character, right? So that's what I'm thinking is going on here. Or it could be something similar to that. Like I might be thinking, like, again, this is starting to make sense to me. And then you go to the event scene, like the monster thing here, right? And you have to think about, well, Robbie likes making villain characters, and we have a few of them, like Purple Rage, the Scarlet, God, what her last name is, the woman who's an actress during the day. Basically, this guy likes making villains, right? Hey, the anti-hero. But anyways, it'd be interesting if this turns out to be the case, that he actually is doing this, because one, it makes sense because of the context, because there's, Robbie versus Dr. Maniac, and the Dr. Maniac Will See You Now, which are two books, two different separate books with different ideas and plots. And not only that, but then it also kind of concerns that you might be thinking time-wise skip. So if this is the case, I'm thinking Robbie could either go two ways. They could either have him be as he's described in the book, which would be in the sense of him being a kid. And, maybe he's a famous kid, like he does webcomics, because, spoiler, that's where the book came from. But then you also have to think, what if they go the R.L. Stine route? What if he was a bit of not an old man? I'm not saying that. I mean like a young adult. Like he basically became popular. He made comic books for a living, and this is what ends up coming in. And that could also bring in some ideas with the Masked Mutant, right? Because I know Vampire did an idea when it came to comic book themed with the episode 2 to the podcast, which was talking about like a little comic shop of horrors. But it's interesting that we haven't gone to a comic book update as far as we know as of right now, officially as an event. And there's a lot of content you can pull from this aspect, some from other areas and whatnot, and then you could bring a lot of monsters in here. So that's what I'm thinking that they're going to be doing, and I'm thinking that's where they're going with this, because all the other books you could argue make sense, but as a two-parter, I don't know, you could probably get away with this one. So 2 parts, that kind of sounds like a Maniac thing to me. And the Maniac is very popular. A lot of people do a lot of fan art of him. And one thing I've noticed with his design is that, my God, the dude, he looks like if Knights were in the 80s, if Knights moved to the 80s kind of thing. Like he has the weird color thing, like he wears armor. It's like, he's a Looney Tunes character. I'm curious if this is the case. I'm curious to see how this man will look, because I'm just assuming, and we all know he does exist, because in the Haunted Halloween they did mention him briefly when they did the argument of like the Masked Mutant versus the Galloping Gazelle. It's like, you can't bring another villain into this. So he does exist, and it would be interesting as far as dialogue, because he is an interesting character, right? And it would be interesting to bring his creator in there. So again, it fits to where he's talking about. And again, that's just my theory on what I think is going on. So that's what I think is doing it. As far as is it going to happen? I don't know. Probably not. But my bank, my money, 90% sure that this is probably what's happening. That it is going to be a Dr. Maniac theme event. If I'm wrong, I don't know what I'll do. But that's my bet. That's what I'm betting my horse on. I'm thinking it's going to be a comic book update, like what Vampire said. And we'll see what ends up happening if that turns out to be true. If not, I'm going to be very mad. No, I won't be mad. I'll be curious to see what ends up happening because, at any rate, this summer is going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. All right. So we're going to get the update within the month of Goosebumps' birthday, the anniversary. So expect that. It's going to be a nice present to me because of my birthday being within July. So it makes sense. But regardless of that, I think I took more of your time. But yes, the long story short, the updates are coming in July, August, and there's a confirm that the Halloween update's coming in October. So that's all I can tell you right now. Everything else, what I've stated, is more speculation of what might be happening, but that's about it. Regardless of that, that's it. What do you think? What do you think might be coming to this update? Because do you think I'm correct? Do you think I'm right? Or do you think I'm a liar? Do you think I'm wrong? I want to know what you think. And then we can all together expect when the update officially hits, we'll be like, oh, that's what it was. So until then, that's it. So again, any more news, I'll let you know. Other than that, I guess see you in July. Oh boy.